Would you be able to go on a little bit about the braving, with Brené Brown about her definition of trust?
Yes, yes. So that sense of trust is from one's external environment, from one's partner, is that sense that if I need my partner, he or she is there for me. That's really what it is. And her definition of trust is really comprehensive, supported by her research, and it's summed up by this acronym BRAVING, where the B stands for boundaries. I'm going to sort of put this in my own words, but she obviously puts her research behind it in the video that will be in the resources. So she says the B stands for boundaries, and the boundaries are really knowing your limits, your partner knowing their limits, being able to take time to know how you're feeling. And then the importance of knowing how you feel is because it'll tell you what you need. So that is so important. I'll talk about it a bit now because this is what we can do, and perhaps I focused a bit too much on the problems up to now. But what I do with my clients when I'm talking to them about their feelings and their needs is I use a framework called Nonviolent Communication, which was created by Marshall Rosenberg. It's a wonderfully simple framework, but it's not easy. And he has this 4-step framework, which I'll talk about later on, but step 2 and step 3 is about identifying as clearly as possible how you feel. And the importance of that is if you know how you feel, then you know what you need. And without knowing exactly what you feel, it's really hard to work out what you need. So just to give you an example, if you're in a really frustrating situation and you're feeling frustrated or angry, well, that's not really very helpful. When you think about it, you might think what's triggered this anger? I'm not being sufficiently appreciated. Yeah, I am not being I don't feel listened to. Okay, so I need to feel listened to, and I need appreciation. Once you know that, you can ask for it.
Yeah. It's really such a beautiful technique. And actually what's quite useful, if you do just go into Google and you put in nonviolent communication needs or nonviolent communication feelings, you can get a whole list there. And it's quite useful because sometimes you only pinpoint one feeling, but there's kind of a range of feelings and needs we have. So it's quite a useful resource to have.
Yes. And what we'll often feel when our needs aren't being met are those feelings we call negative emotions, but they are so important. So important not to ignore them. Easy to ignore them because they're usually uncomfortable, but so important not to. And again, under the resources, I've included Marshall Rosenberg's 3-hour workshop on nonviolent communication, along with a list of needs, because it's not something that we tend to think about. What are my needs? So I've put that in as an extra resource. So coming back to the B for boundaries, it's about standing up for yourself. So you need to know what you need in order to stand up for yourself and be able to communicate that effectively. And of course, that effective communication is not done in a way that we would call sort of negative conflict. And I'll talk more about conflict. The R is for reliability, consistency, knowing that person is there. I hadn't known whether to talk about this, but what I suppose it is important to flag it, which is that if there has been in the past in this particular relationship, or even in past relationships or in early childhood, a time when a person was really let down, really badly let down, and I'm not going to talk about abuse or anything like that, but let down, that leaves a sort of sensitivity. What happens is that when those feelings come back, so they feel the same feelings, they're sort of what Una McCluskey would call lookalikes, then the potential for those to cause an overreaction is there. And I find that clients say to me, I don't know why I reacted so strongly. And I say, well, this is the problem. This is what's happening here. There's some stuff coming in from your past that you haven't realized because it's you've forgotten about it. But there's an accumulation of those feelings with what's just happened now. And that's what's causing you to react more strongly. And I think it's so important to know that because we're so quick to criticize ourselves. Sometimes I'm a bad person. I've shouted too loudly at my child, or why did I say that to my partner? when you realise that this isn't just about the now, but there's the past that comes in at such times, that things can be re-triggered, it does help us understand that. So what made me think about that is that if you have been let down in the past, it's so important to have this reliability where time after time after time you have this sense that somebody is there for you. And if they've really let you down badly in the past, that might be coming up. Yeah. And my advice right now is not to tackle big problems, but does help to know it's there, perhaps, so you can pick it up afterwards. Because a general rule of thumb with all of this is really don't make things worse right now. If something can be parked, park it.
My husband and I have got a new saying. We call it, it's a coronavirus thing.
Okay. What does that mean?
Massive explosion, and then we just go, okay, it's a coronavirus thing.
Great, yes.
And just move on. And, maybe when we calm down later, we could maybe tackle it then.
Yes, well, I think that's spot on, Rebecca.
Yeah,
because there is just so much demanding attention from partners now who are parents. So accountability, and that's taking responsibility for one's own feelings and reactions and staying out of judgment and blame. We'll talk a bit more about that later. Vault is the V, confidentiality. You really need to know that what you say to somebody isn't going to get passed on, you know. And then there's integrity, non-judgment, and generosity. So we can't focus on all of that, but that's what braving is. And I think that everybody will have a sense of what trust means for them, because what's important for them will come into what trust means. Yeah, it is to some degree determined by what one's own values are, but I think there's always that sense of safety and security that's needed.